I'm joined now by Alex Jackson, who's from the Campaign for Better Hospital Food. And Alex, you quit the Hospital Food Standards Panel earlier in the year because you were frustrated the government wouldn't introduce legislation to govern hospital food standards. How do you feel now?
Well, we still don't think the government's gone far enough. We'd still like them to introduce legislation so that the standards are put down in statute and protected by elected members of Parliament. But there's lots of other weaknesses to the proposals as well. The food standards are very weak. They just really reflect what's already going on. And there's no effective mechanism for kind of monitoring the standards and evaluating them to make sure that they're up to scratch for years to come.
Because we see these horrible pictures of the most unappetizing looking plates of food, and that's being kind, just sort of plates of white mush, really. Do you don't think this will change that?
I don't think it goes far enough to change it. Some of the standards they're advocating, for example, are that patients should be served tap water and that half of tea and coffee should be fairly traded. I mean, they're good standards, but they really only reflect what's already happening. They won't stretch hospitals, they won't push them to up their game, to improve the meals served to patients. We want to see much tougher standards to really drive radical change.
Well, like what? I mean, fish twice a week seems fairly sensible, if you eat fish, of course.
Well, one really radical thing the government could have done was actually to bring back kitchens to hospitals. That's something that's on their way out.
Which Jeremy Hunt was keen to point out today in the hospital he was in.
Yeah, he carefully chose a hospital which has a kitchen, but less than half do now. They're a bit of a dying breed, and that has huge ramifications for patients because food freshly cooked and prepared on site is generally more popular with patients, better quality.
The thing is, can hospitals cope and can hospital workers cope? Because they really feel, a lot of them, like they're under the cosh at the moment.
I think everyone says that it's too difficult to achieve, but the point is that some hospitals are achieving it, just not very many, probably a handful, maybe 10. So the question is, how do you get every other hospital to meet those same standards? And today was the government's opportunity to legislate those same high standards across the country.
Do you think with so many things to do with the National Health Service, it boils down to money? They need to put more money in for good food and do what perhaps they did with school dinners?
Well, government always says money's an issue, and trusts say the same thing. But if you look at the figures, actually, the best hospital meals are often the cheapest to make. For the same reason that if you or I were to go to the supermarket and buy raw ingredients and cook a meal fresh, we could spend less than if we were buying an expensive ready meal.
And just briefly, Alex, we said at the start there that good food should help recovery. Are there any figures that bear that out?
It's difficult to say that the good patient food helps patients to recover more quickly and leave hospital more quickly, but we definitely know that it can only be a good thing that patients look forward to their 3 meals a day rather than dread them. And really, hospitals shouldn't be serving bad, unhealthy hospital food, which is only really going to put patients back into hospital in the long term.